Hello, welcome to the Infinite Creative Podcast. My name is Fitz, and this is...
Hey guys, I'm Sean.
Yeah, Sean, so I hear you're back in Colorado, aren't you?
Yeah, back in Colorado, back from Universal Studios, came back and I'm back in the office after 3 weeks of being on the road, so...
Oh, look at that. It's a T-Rex on the mug. That reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't pass this up. Like, I went through all of Universal Studio, like, man, I won't get anything. And then I saw this baby, and I was like, oh, this has to be on the podcast. We have to... Trying to get that coffee cup game.
Yeah, a good coffee mug is, like, worth gold.
Ooh, and what is that there? I create before consume. I mean, I've never heard of that. What's that thing?
That is a podcast. Actually, one of my podcast guests got on Dr. Phil.
What? What? Really?
Yeah, no. So that's actually a thing that happened. So basically, my chair cracked now. Very scary. I think I jinxed some things here. But yeah, so basically, some of my guests got on Dr. Phil, and yeah, they're living in a van because of the housing crisis, and they made a big wave on TikTok, and now they're on Dr. Phil apparently.
Whoa! Dang.
Not sure when it's airing, but it's probably this or next week or so, or I don't know how they do it. But they announced it on their social media, which is kind of cool. So it's alrighty on Create Before Consume or on their TikTok, alrighty then.
Okay, alrighty then, or alrighty. Okay, and they're on Dr. Phil in like a week. Whoa.
5 E's or so, or I's.
Oh, okay. One of those fun. Alrighty then. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, congrats to you. You have a Dr. Phil guest that you've had.
Oh yeah, so that is actually kind of an interesting point. You know, when you get onto the big medias, they kind of want it sensational, so they probably will construe some things in a different way, and I'm very curious about that.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be kind of fun though if it's your podcast where there's some funny sound bites that get people in trouble later. That would be great. Yeah, you'll get lots of views then. So you'll monetize immediately.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about today, Sean?
Oh, sorry. Just had to drink another one from the amazing mug here. Yeah. So today I think we're going to talk about when do you hire someone? When do you get overwhelmed with things? And, good experiences with that, bad experiences with that. And then also why do we get hired, right? Like who was the first person to be like, I need some help. I'm going to get that guy over there, with the cool coffee mug and I'm going to get him to help me. When were those kind of moments? And then I think we're going to wrap it all up with invoices because we've talked about it a little bit before, but I think we're going to dive into, how do you write those invoices? What's a good way to do it in a way that you don't waste a ton of time?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because on that note, I'm wasting a lot of time of doing the custom invoices, but...
Ooh, custom invoices.
It sounds good, doesn't it? It's in the price included.
Right, I know. Yeah, they don't even have to pay extra for these custom invoices.
Yeah, but okay. Let's start off with the hiring because I was in the position where I got booked again, and I had the one wedding, bad experiences, and some good experiences. And I realized, oh man, I need more people in my network that I can outsource to. And then I'm like, oh, the people that I know, do I really want to hire them? And, all the good people are gone because some of my people moved to Colorado and whatever. Was it Denver? I have no idea. There's a couple people who moved to different places, and I'm mixing stuff up. But basically lost a couple people, and now I'm I don't know who to hire and who to trust. And it's a weird thing. What's your experience with hiring people?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm also in a weird place where I wish I had more of a team right now, too, I think. So I can kind of relate to you of the whole, I've had people leave. I've had people that have kind of done different careers, or a lot of the good people that get swallowed up by firms. Even, a lot of people are surprised even I'm still available, that I haven't just gone to a firm so I could go get paid, $40,000 more a year than I get now. So that happens a lot.
Yeah, on that note, my buddy... He works now at a bigger firm and makes the big bucks, and his name is Jonathan Jasinski. And I did some YouTube videos with him and met him there. I'm now he's doing the big company work, but that would have been one of my go-tos, he's a good guy. kind of affordable and good work for the price, you know, and trustworthy. And I'm like, oh yeah, I would have hired him. Now he's gone. I'm like, who is my buddy now? Where I'm like, he will not, you know, try to compete with me on like, hey, this is my name, and here, just hire me next time, you know, kind of sort of thing. Did you had ever a bad experience with like clients? Oh, not clients.
Yeah, not really clients, but subcontractors, right?
Yeah, subcontractors.
You know, I
think you mentioned that in the beginning when we met. You met somebody and he stole your client.
Oh,
story, right?
Oh, okay.
Give me the scoop. What was that?
Yeah. So I did.
It's quiet.
No. So there was like, there was this medical client that very small. They just made these like very, I won't call them out or anything, but they made very like specific kind of medical instruments and so like we needed a photographer to take some just kind of product photographs. And then I was going to do both like this view book for them. And then we were also talking about doing a landing page, and it was just easy peasy. These are the easiest people in the world to please. Cause they were just weird scientist people. They didn't know good from bad. And I was like, cool. So this will be a good one to get you in on the project. And I remember, sending him to go do it. Everything seemed to go well. And then he kind of blew them off for a few weeks. And then out of nowhere, they blew me off. And then I was like, well, what's going on? Like, why is nobody answering any of my emails? Why is nobody answering? And then finally, my contact there gets back to me and says, "Oh, we went a completely different direction. The photographer he didn't do a great job, and then he was trying to get him to design the things, and that really confused us because we thought you were designing the things." And then, the photos didn't even come out right, and he didn't even organize them correctly. And so all of this had happened without me even knowing it. Like him being under me, I was completely in the dark. I was like, oh, so not only did he not do the job he was supposed to do well, he was also trying to undercut me, which confused you and destroyed the entire thing. He never even talked to me ever again. He never said, I reached out to him. He never said sorry or anything, and just kind of kept going on his merry way, just probably destroying client relationships. So so that was before I met you years ago. I had a guy here and he was a great photographer. Yeah. I used him for like everything. I just threw everything his way. Every project I was like, hey, I budgeted a couple $100 for you to take photos. Boom. Just take like 5 photos and here it is, and it was great. It was a great relationship. And then he just, I don't know.
But could have been that he has done that multiple times without you knowing. That is like one of the things where I'm like, I maybe have one or two contacts where I'm like, I feel like they're not as beneficial as I think they are to me, because they're maybe like, trash talking behind your back, and what is a weird thing. So it's like,
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Well, it's just it's really mutiny in a weird way. It's like, you get these people onto your pirate ship so you guys can sail together, and they pull a mutiny. They try to take over the pirate ship, and it's like, and it never works out. It just makes the client feel awkward. The work suffers, and it's funny because just like companies will tell you, it's hard to find good talent. That's what you're finding out. That's what I'm finding out. It's hard to find people that are not only good at what they do, but they're willing to work with you on price or work with you on the weirdness of your situation. It's hard to find those fits.
How to find those fits.
Exactly. But yeah, I guess that's a little bit of a segue. So why did people start finding Fitz? I guess was there ever like you were subcontracted on anything, or was that any of your first gigs, or?
Yeah, so I think like most of it is like word of mouth, and then like being like easy to work with. Like, let's talk about like the experience we had together, because like now everything is experiences from like, hey, you told me, but yada yada yada. There was that one dude who met me when I was in the Black Row coffee shop in St. Petersburg. His name was Barry, and he's like, hey, you got a camera? I'm like, yeah, sure, I have a camera. And he's like, do you do video work? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And then he went on and talked about all his stuff, like how good it is, yada yada yada. And I'm like, and he's like, I maybe have a gig coming up in the future. And that was like a really interesting one, because like the story about that gig is like he had somebody lined up, and I was like one of the cheaper options because I kind of just started out, and I'm like, okay, I'm just doing it for $400, and that was double the rate that I had in my mind, and I'm like, whatever I had in mind, I was like, I double it, and I did that with that guy,
Nice.
Barry. Just in case you listen. But basically, I got hired, and he gives the guy the call when I'm arrived on time. Hey, don't show up. And I'm like, what? So basically, he fired the guy on the spot because he was late, or he didn't want to pay him for that. And I'm like, oh. And then it was just us doing the thing. And that was like my experience, and I had to deal with a lot of stuff. But since then, he came like a couple times back, hired me, because the price was competitive, you know? And I basically deal with whatever he gave to me. What was a lot. But he's like a really good people pleaser, and like good with people, and that's kind of what I am too. But it's more like fast paced and result driven versus quality. You see?
Yeah. Well, no, that's cool. I mean, I like one thing that you kind of said there, that you both kind of were like seeing eye to eye, right? You both kind of you were on the same wavelength with that. So that's pretty cool. I mean, so he definitely saw something in you that he was like, okay, this guy gets it. He gets like my way and my style a little bit here. Which is
kind of
cool.
Scary, because like some people said like, oh yeah, he's like you, what you will be in like 40, 50 years. And I'm like,
you're like, nah, I don't know if I want that.
But there's that triangle, you know. You want it fast, you want it good, or what was the other thing? I forgot it. Fast, good, and
cheap.
Yeah. So there's the triangle.
Yeah, there is. There's that triangle, the dreaded triangle that nobody understands still to this day. But yeah, it's
there's multiple of those triangles. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we teach them these things too. That's the thing, is a lot of these people learn these things. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So in this case, it sounds like you just kind of were able to step into this guy's world. You were cheap enough, you were good enough, and or at least like it sounded like he could hang out with you a bit, like he could talk shop with you, and you guys were on the same wavelength of like, let's just get shit done, let's get some money, and that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and I think I have like similar experiences. I mean, like so to get kind of not to the beginning of my career, but just like when I first arrived there in Florida, and I got into that group of the other web designers and kind of UI people. It was kind of the same thing where we had to like essentially go have a beer at the dog bar there in town. Yeah. And that was the interview, really. It was like, when there was no like, oh, like, how good are you at web design? Like there kind of was, or like what types of code. Like there was some throwing around of some stuff just to see if I knew what I was talking about a little bit. But
and how you respond. And
a little bit, but not even that much. A lot of it was just like, could I hang out? Like, could they have a beer with me? Was I cool with his dogs? Right? Like if I'm sure if I was not cool with dogs, it would have all gone. He would have never hired me. Like if I was like sitting there like, don't touch me, I'll get your dog off me. He would have been like, which I love dogs, so that helped, But but it was the same thing of where he was just like, I'm in a place in my career where I just want to get stuff done. I just want to get stuff off the plate. I just want to get money coming in. It's all about the less amount of work, most amount of profit. And I was like, you know what, I'm kind of in that place too, where I'm trying to get to this place where I actually can say I'm making lots of money on my craft. Because up to that point, I really never had this huge profit that I wanted.
There's a tipping point to it, I feel like, like after you figured a couple things out, you go from like, $70 to $200, and then you're like $400. Then you're like, what if I charge $1,000, and there's like stepping points where like, oh, I need this to charge that, and it's like kind of like all mental a little bit. But if you have everything lined up and the values, you just have to say like, what are the values that I'm delivering? And it's just like things you have to mention, and that's literally it,
Yeah. Well, and listening, it goes back to that too. Like, so I think he was happy that I was listening more than I was talking, and I wasn't like interrupting him. I was letting him interrupt me. Just stuff like that. I think, yet again, I think he was just picking up on like, okay, cool. This guy's I'm not going to let him on the pirate ship and he's going to have a mutiny and try to take it over and try to tell me how to do my thing. Like he totally got from me that I was like kind of being a beta, that I was like, yeah, you can be the alpha in this thing. Like you're the lead dog. You lead me.
I actually like that. Let's talk a little bit about this pirate ship, because like as a freelancer, you could say we're all pirates,
Yeah.
But in the end, it's like when you do go to that dog bar or any bar and you meet those people and you check them out, it's not about like you said, how good they are. It's like, will they stab me in the back? What will they do to me? How capable of a shark are they? And it's like in the freelance world, it feels like you're swimming with like a bunch of sharks, and it sometimes is like really hard to figure out who are the good people who are like, okay, we're working win-win, and I want you to succeed, that we all succeed, versus like I try to do everything and eat up whatever I can, because that doesn't work.
Well, right, exactly. I mean, I think people, and I say this as a really intense person like this, I take myself too seriously sometimes, and I think people sometimes don't like that either. They don't like that guy that's just brooding in the corner, just like this is serious work. We're trying to create a new reality, and I'm going to get the best out there. And it's like, people don't like that. They're like, dude, chill out. Like, I'm just trying to have a tea right now and talk to you. Like, people are just like, people want to just like calm down and take the temperature down a lot too. So I think that's part of it too, is like, I've seen some young creatives that are awesome, but they have this intensity that like, and it's like, and that's cool. But like, we're like, I like that with like the work, like, but show it in the work. Don't show it in like all the other time. Like it shouldn't be like this is a Christopher Nolan film. Every time you walk into the room, the lights dim down, and then it just gets really like crazy soundtrack. Like, just calm down, man. Like, we all like, cause I make some crazy art. I have some crazy kind of thoughts and stuff, but I'm trying to break that myself, where like, I don't want to walk into a room and, just be like super brooding and serious, and just like, which I fail sometimes. I wear all black. I'll come in and be that guy that's like, but yeah, just like pissed off, just like, and I'm not. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm taking this seriously.
Understand my art.
yeah. Like, and I'm trying to break that even because people don't like that. They view that as like something that's scary. Like, like if you're being serious, and maybe you're being serious to me, and especially people with like really fragile egos, which I've found in the business workplace, you can set off those landmines by being super serious, because they're immediately, it's all about them. So they're like, well, why is Sean mad at me? He barely said hi to me. Oh, it's all about, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? And those things can just pop up where you're like, oh, I wasn't even doing that. I was just being serious. I was just in my own head. So that's one of them I want to tell people, is like, just while you can take yourself serious, like, turn off the matrix a little bit when you come into the room. Like, just be a little normal, laugh at yourself. Things like that go a ton, where I don't feel scared. Like, if I'm going to hire you as a subcontractor, and you're like laughing at yourself, and you're like, oh, you're kind of poking fun. Even if you poke fun at me, actually, that's not a bad thing either. If there's some sense of humor. Yeah. So it's like, that all reads well. Like, I'll hire you. Like, there was this girl that I did a small project with a year ago, where she does these kind of cute illustrations, and I hired her for just a few $100s for like 5 little illustrations. And she was amazing to work with, because she was just like adorable about it. The entire process was just like her kind of being like, is this okay? Is that all right? If you need any changes, let me know. And I would say something, she was like immediately back to me, which I think is something too, is be timely, like really respect people's time. But yeah, just the way she talked to me, I was like, I felt comfortable the entire time, so I think that's part of it.
So what was your, I don't know, like, if I would ask that, we already go back to the first thing, like, what was your worst experience hiring somebody else? But what is it like, one of your, what would be the ideal subcontractor be for you? Besides like cheap and fast and good, like, where you put like the value on, like, besides those 3 factors?
Well, right now I'm trying to build that. I mean, I have a few people, and I'm not going to shout them out because they're not really quite ready to be shouted out yet. But there's been a few even throughout the podcast I've probably mentioned. But I'm trying to make friends that are within my circles. People like you, for example. I'm trying to find ways to tie you into things, right? It's such a big deal for me. So I think the people that I'm trying to like get right now are people that I want to grow alongside with me, I think. Yeah. I think that's the perfect fit. So like right now for me, like as a web designer, I do a lot of development still. And while I like the development, I have such a short fuse for it. Like, if it goes wrong, if something goes wrong, which recently things have gone terribly wrong in some of the projects.
I could make a list with anything.
The whole episode would be called Sean complaining about web design then, so we won't go there. But it was, the development process still, like, I have a short fuse for, because I didn't go to art school to code. I wasn't like coding in high school very, very much. It wasn't big on it. And so now that I do it more than I want, that's something that I've immediately identified. Like, if I could find that person, yet again, that doesn't want to take over the whole pirate ship, right? So still trusts me as a designer to be like, hey, I already designed it. I already got it approved. You just need to make it happen. I just need you to do the magic and it works now. Yeah. I need that person, but not them to be just like kind of my slave to what I want either. Like, they can be like, well, this is maybe the better way to do it, and maybe this is like how web standards are doing it, and you're doing it different than is like normal. Yeah. That stuff's cool, but someone that can trust me and be like, yeah, man, you brand them, you do it, you get the client sign off, you do all that stuff. I hate that stuff. I just want to sit here and figure out problems, and just give me development problems and I'll just solve them, and we'll just get this thing launched. And that's what I would want right now for me as a web designer.
Yeah, for me, it's like a thing, like, everybody is on that fame train with like videography, it's like, oh, I'm gonna shoot the most epic video and I have to have my credits in there and whatever, like, on the one side, yeah, credits are kind of needed, and on the one side, yes, it would be beneficial, but it's also like, I don't want to like compete on my clients just because I hired you, so it's like one of the things, like, it would be nice, you hire somebody. So that's at least how I do. When I get hired by one of my buddies, I endorse them, not me. I maybe say my name and be like, yeah, my name is Fitz, and I'll do video work with like Kenobi Media, for example. Good guy, does quality work, gets a lot of clients, and yeah, that's basically what I do. I'm like, not like, oh yeah, you should hire fitza.com, or whatever, and go over me. Yeah. Because that's a rude thing to do, but some people are like just handing out business cards, and I'm like, that's like one way how you make sure you don't get hired again. If you're like out there, like, oh, make sure that you mention me, make sure that there's like, I hear stories from people that I would have hired, but I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of annoying working with him. He wants to be credited everywhere. What is kind of, it's kind of fine, but also kind of not, because like, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like, you get it, right? Because like, we all have to do that. We all have to network. We have to take advantage of any situation. Yeah. And so in one way, you can't blame them, but yeah, they're there for you. They're only there because you. And so there's like that level of respect that should kind of go unsaid. Like, or they should at least ask, right? They should at least have the balls to be like, hey, Fitz, so we're about to do this gig. You maybe didn't pay me maybe as much as I wanted to. Can I maybe hand out some of my own business cards? Are you comfortable with that? I'm at least asking you and giving you the chance to say yes or no. And if you say no, be like, no, I don't want you to. You're here to represent me right now. Yeah. Then be like, okay, yeah, that's
also
fine.
Like the first timers, like on the first time, that's not the time where you should do that, because that's like, okay, now I don't know, like, would it be
That's true best? Too. I think that's true.
Because like when they hand out the cards and then they mess it up, then you have a double whammy. Like, you got messed up stuff from them. You paid for it. You promoted somebody who you maybe should not have promoted. That's like the thing where it's like, I'd rather have somebody where I pay a lot of money. Like, hey, I'm the guy. That would make more sense for me, because like, I trust them. I paid top dollar for them. I know what I'm getting. Where the cheaper they are, the less I want to know them. And want just the stuff, versus like, it's kind of messed up though, because I can see both ways, and like, I'm just like seeing how bad it is,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's hard, because it goes back to too, you can't start from a place of distrust too. So I would say that, like, if you've never worked with someone before too, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they may be a good person. Because if you go into it with already begrudging them, you may create the reality you don't want. You may start making them want to do things that. So I would caution that. Let everyone start from a blank slate, just like you would in a relationship. Don't make your current relationship suffer for other bad relationships you've had. So I would say that, but yeah, it's also about you being clear, I think, and having a process of doing things, I think. So for example, like, so to just dive a little bit in your world, we don't have to get into specifics of things, but like you do like event photography, videography, for example. So those are great places to also network. So it's very interesting where you need someone's help at something that is in itself a networking event, like already puts them in front of people. However, it's not their logo. It's your logo that's on things. It's your logo that's on stuff. It's you that can walk around and say that you're a sponsor and stuff like that, which, yeah, again, it should be too, if that's part of the, you being cheap, right? Like if you're hitting that triangle, there is a fourth triangle for nonprofits, which is exposure, and that can be good, that can be meh, but but you can work on that. So let's say your logo is in the event, like you got it on the logo wall, you have your own table set up even for Fitz, photography, videography, whatever, and so you have all of that happening, but so with that, they're not getting any exposure, and they may get grumpy about it. But then what you can say is, well, I just want you to introduce yourself as someone that's helping Fitz Photography, and I promise you that as things go forward, I'm going to get you in the loop. Now, if this is like a starter project, let's say this is their first time helping you, just like be very clear with them, like, hey, don't do the handing out cards and stuff. If I can see that you're willing to work with me in kind of my loop. And you can kind of talk your loop up a little bit. My loop is much more vast than this event. Like if you can do well in this event, there's so much more I can plug you into. Just like I would just impress that on them. Like just be part of a team with me. You represent Fitz. If people are asking where you're here, you can say that you're a photographer, but that you're helping out Fitz, that one of the sponsors Fitz. And that you need to say that. Now, if you do that well, and if I see that you do that well, you're going to be part of this, and you're going to be in this world. Yeah. So Now it's hard because people definitely want to own their own company. They want to be the boss. But then they don't want to be the boss to get the clients though. That's the hard part, right? Every creative's like, I can't get the clients. Where's all the clients? Well, that's you being the boss. You have to go get the clients. So people, when people get to this place that they're okay with their own ego and stuff, they're actually okay with you hiring them because then they don't have to get the clients. You do. Yeah. You do all the work. They just have to show up.
That's like for me, like when I get hired, I'm like, oh, thank God somebody did the work for me. I just have to show up, film something, and don't have to edit. Perfecto. That's like the best case scenario. You just film stuff and do the, do the showing up, and it's like nice. And I'm like, I don't want to take credit for you like building the portfolio, going out there doing like all the work, and then like closing the client. Like some people don't do a good job of closing clients, so they don't even have the big budget. So I don't want to even like compete too much on the how much I want to make from that, because like I think they come usually with the right amount in. When I give somebody a budget, I'm like, okay, this is what I can do. There's not like, oh, I could have done double, triple.
Well, and yeah, and I think to kind of jump on like exactly what you're saying is it all comes down to the planning when you estimate, right? And I think that's a huge thing. I think if it's really big, especially for what you do, you kind of come up with like your own tiers of things is what I would say. I kind of do this in my brand design where like, here's like the diet version, here's what everyone should be doing, and here's the extra large version. And the extra large version for like you may be like, I'm going to need three other shooters to do the premium package. So I kind of know that they want $500 each person, and I would need 3 shooters. That's $1,500. So that needs to be on top of whatever I'm going to charge for the premium package, and just have it built in. And that's part of what they get. You can put that in the notes of like, having other people with cameras at the event. Like because people get that. People that do events get that like, yeah, you're one guy. I would way rather have a team of people to shoot all these different angles at the event than this one guy.
Just to be safe.
And they get that costs something, that those are different, just like the catering, having just the chef come out and serve them versus having a waiting staff. They get it. They understand these things. So I think that's something that, as long as you're good in your estimating. Now, for me, what I'll do, and any clients listening, don't pick this apart. Clients are not allowed to listen to this podcast. So stop now. Spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead. How to get Sean
way to spoil cheap. Clients ahead. Exactly. Yeah. Things to argue with Sean about on price. I always, in almost every project now, I do 5 to 10% cushion on top of whatever I'm going to charge. So after I figure out all my stuff, all my tools, all my time, I still do another 5 to 10% cushion, just that's there if I need help. So I do have stuff that's like, and the help could be tools, the help could be plugins, it could be equipment, it could be people. I kind of lump it all into one thing, but that's part of almost every estimate. So if I estimate $3,000 to do a website, then there's going to be at least $300 on top of that. So it'll be $3,300 that I quote. That $300 is just going to be just to keep there, just in case I'm like, oh shit, I do need an illustration. So I can be like, hey, Illustrator, $300 for 2 cool illustrations, please. And I'm like, cool, there we go. You saved the day, because I'm already behind and I can't sit here and like get my Wacom tablet out and be an awesome illustrator immediately. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel that. Like, it's always good to build in that cushion. I cannot talk.
Cushion. The caution cushion.
The caution cushion. I like that. Yeah, so on my last event, like, my videographer that I hired shot everything with a too high of an ISO, so everything becomes very noisy. I'm like, oh, god damn. If they watch this on a big screen and not on the phone, you will see all that noise and it will be crinkle, 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 everywhere. What kind of can be fine because, like, people put that stuff on, like, movies. Like, if you watch the last Jurassic Park, man, that movie was noisy. But that was on choice because, film grain, and ISO noise is different than film grain, but in the end, it's, like, artistic, whatever, You could argue with a lot of creative arguing, but I was like, okay, let's buy that plugin to just get rid of it, and there goes $150, But it was good to have the budget in there, even though it was not really budgeted in with like how many things got fucked up. Sorry.
For all you at home counting on the words we can't say, we've done about 3 or 4 of this podcast, by the way. But yeah, so I think I agree with you. I mean, it's tough because so what you just said is like you had a subcontractor that essentially messed up, right? He messed up. You can't get it back.
He also saved the day, so it's not fair to
He also saved the day. Yeah, so it's the whole like it was good, but it wasn't perfect, and it would have been great if he at least done it perfect, but he didn't. Yeah. He did it just good. And so yeah, and part of that too, arguably, and I don't know the situation enough, I may be completely talking out of my butt here, but I think like the big thing there too is you having a system too. If you don't have a solid system for a subcontractor, you're really throwing them in the middle of the chaos. So
yeah, basically.
So like when I talked about that illustrator, she loved working with me because I didn't make her go to any client meetings. She even told me, oh wow, some of my other clients like make me come to the meetings and they call me out in the middle of the meeting of like, what am I going to draw and stuff, and it freaks me out. I'm like, no. Don't worry about that. You do you. Stay in your nice little warm, cozy illustration room and just pump out cool stuff. Like that's what I want for you. Like,
but that's because you know how the process is and that you don't really need that meeting. Like you being the buffer for her.
Yeah, well, and that what's nice about me too that I think is unique about me, I guess, is that like I've worn a lot of hats, some of them better than others, but like so I can talk the illustration game up. It's not completely like so when someone's like, well, how are you going to make that illustration motion? How is that going to work? I can be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to have her make it. Then we're going to bring it in After Effects and we're going to do this thing. Then I'm going to make that into a Lottie file. That's going to then go into the website and then it's going to do this motion on the website. So I can like say that, like, so she doesn't need to be there. And then like, when we can talk about, I can be like, yeah, so I think in this case, what were we doing? It was like it was another education company, but it was, it was like these kind of animals that were like doing school stuff. So I just was able to kind of riff-raff with the client and then have a riff-raff with her, veto some of the client stuff with her behind closed doors and just let her go to town. And I think that's how things work the best. And so when I was with the guys in Florida, so to go back to that story, when they kind of hired me in, what was cool about me is I was the most visual designer out of the 3 of them. So the other 2 are very code-based
in
UX.
Blowing his horn.
I was the most visually appealing person in the room. So, but like, so I was a very visual designer. So they were like, cool, because they could just plug me in. So he's not like I was in a lot of the meetings still. He would just talk to the guys, their clients, and they'd be like, yeah, we need a new website. We need a new landing page. But shit, we also need all these brochures to match the landing page. And we need all these new icons and stuff too. And so like, then he was like, oh, cool. He's like, I got a guy for that. And he's like, boom. All right. So you do all the visual stuff and then you just hand it over to Jeff over here. He's going to make it into this website over here. And we're just going to do this. And it worked really well. So I think it works really well when you can have people just be a piece of the puzzle, but let them control it a bit. Right. Like, I think that's part of it too, is don't treat them like a tool and just be like, you're going to do exactly what I want, even if it's not your style. I think like, hire people that do mesh with you already. Yeah. So if there's a guy he likes very complex, crazy stuff, but you're very simplistic, then don't get that guy unless it's this complex project that you want that project or that client, but you need him to do his style. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
building
mean?
that network is like the hardest part, I feel like. It's like, I'm like, it's hard to make friends in general, and then you meet a person, then you meet the perfect person, and then, yeah, now you need like 10 of those, It's like you said in the beginning, like, good talent is hard to find.
It totally is. It is. It takes a lot of time. And I'm finding that now that I've kind of built up like networks and had them kind of crumble, built up networks, had them crumble. I still have people like you and other people that I know I could always like tag on things. But yeah, I've now gotten in this place where I need to create a better system, I think, to plug people in. Because one of the kind of roles I haven't talked about, but honestly is even more useful to me than another designer or creative, would just be to hire people to hype me. I mean, like that would be a big deal to get my own like marketing, well, yeah, kind of, yeah. Exactly. Go ahead and pay some people to TikTok about me, but no, like
dancing your name. This is Sean. You should.
This is Sean. Sean Craig Creative. Sean Craig Creative. It's just like all over TikTok, but like But yeah, to get people though, they're like my marketing manager. It'd be nice to have this person that I have to meet once a week, like my. Yeah, so that's maybe.
I saw that on the the Facebook group, like the freelance videographer group, and somebody was like arguing with me in that group, and we're just like, I read his profile. I'm like, oh, he's like, oh yeah, I need a marketing company. Did anybody have like experience with that and had somebody figure out how to get clients through marketing? And he hired like a PPC company or something, and somebody responded to him. So I got like information from a hater, and I really love that because I was like reading the thing, and somebody helped him in a different profile, and he basically helped me. Like, oh, so you should hire like a marketing company that does Google advertising, but so what you should look out for is apparently you have to pay the Google marketing, and they just manage it. So. Otherwise, if you would pay them directly, and they just would spend less money on the marketing and steal your money.
Right.
One of the things I learned, but yeah, it works really well.
It can, just like it's part of this kind of the marketing web, right? Of like newsletters, pay per click, ad placement with AdSense. Things like that, where, even doing physical media, doing billboard stuff, doing radio ads, doing a press release to news places, they're all kind of parts of the pie. But having someone like, we just never focus on ourselves. And when we do, it's very fragmented because it's all in between client work. It's like, oh, but I also like we don't, this isn't the segue yet, so don't just jump into this, but even like in the invoices that we're going to talk about here in a second, I think like that's another good, interesting piece where like, that's a good example of like, that's something that you could be doing better but you've been doing wrong for so long because you don't have time. The clients are more important. The gig you just had is more important than you spending a whole day working on how to make your invoicing easier.
No, I could go on that aspect. Like, okay, so there's like little things that I want to improve, and then it's like, oh, I should write an invoice instead of like editing the reels for the podcast, stuff like that. There's so many things. Like, for example, the handmade invoices that I got from Rachel. So she designed something in Photoshop, and obviously she does not do freelance work. She knows Photoshop really well. She's like, she did some designing work in architecture school, So she did a really good job, like designing that template, and I'm just reusing that thing because I have it. It got made. It is handy. I'm like, I don't have to make it from scratch. So whatever I had is still out there. Same with my website. My website should need like a whole day, if not a whole week of attention, and I should make some more reels and whatever. But so many little things where you're like, I don't have time for it. I do it when I have like a short moment, and then you just reuse that little thing you did in 5 minutes over and over and over again. It's bad.
Yeah. And I'm, so I have the same problems too. I mean, I definitely do. So for me, if you were to ask me like, what are my big problems is, things like social media, updating my own website as a web designer, just
that's my reel too.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but social media is definitely one of them where I need to be just more out there. I need to just be more engaging, reaching out to more people, creating more engagement that way. And yeah, just like writing more content, putting stuff like that out, support more people, even doing my own little podcast things probably would be helpful, doing just more content creation. And so like, it'd be great to have someone that was like once a week, like where they're like, they pin me down like we do with this podcast, where we're just like, okay, we're going to spend 1 to 2 hours every week. And we're just going to focus on Sean Craig Creative. And they're like, it'd be great to have like, almost like, maybe it's a business coach, maybe it's like a marketing coach, but like have that kind of coach figure that's like, here's the things you're doing the most wrong. Like you may like, cause that's funny. Cause we've mentioned a few things, but they may even be like, no, you're focusing on the wrong stuff. It ain't about pay-per-click. It's not about your social media. What about this? And you're going to be like, oh, right. I don't do that. I didn't even think about that. So it'd be good to have like those people. But they're expensive, right? Like, so that's like a $200 an hour, $300 an hour to get a coach for an hour. So it's so it's hard to get those types of people. But I guess that's also something I would like to have, because frankly, I've had mentors, but I've been in a weird place. And we can talk about this in one of the next podcasts, but I've walked that line between needing a mentor and not needing a mentor, where I've done good enough where people are scared away from being my mentor, if that makes sense. They're like, oh, he's already got his stuff figured out. And I would like a mentor.
So let's talk about that for a quick moment, because like I booked on, what was it, TikTok or Instagram? On Instagram, I got like an offer like, hey, 2-day meeting with a guy who does like 1 million views on TikToks and whatever. And he basically makes a 2-day course in a local videographer shop, whatever, and he has 200 people coming. I got a ticket for free. Now he changed the free to like donation-based, $100 to $200, whatever you can donate to solidify the ticket. I'm like, I can't afford that right now with the GoFundMe, but I also don't want to show up after spending $1 or $5 on it because I don't have money. So I'm like, I either want to do it like $50, $100, or $200, what I can't spend right now, just because of like I have the GoFundMe going on, have all the drama, and I'm like, I should do that, and I should use the connections that I make there to get more work or learn something, or maybe find a mentor. Should I just jump the gun on it and, make the money? Because I technically could, but it's a 2-day program. I don't know how much I will benefit from it, but it's the whole networking aspect. What is your opinion on that?
But yeah, well, I think
my mentor.
yeah. And, I would say, so it's $1 to $200. Is that what you meant by that? So it could be as low as $1, but you just don't want to be low and that cheap, obviously. Yeah. I mean, are you pretty confident you would get stuff? Like, does this seem pretty legit to you, just like on the front end, that you're going to learn things from this and that he has knowledge to share?
He has a lot of knowledge to share, but he shares it also over TikToks. So it's like kind of, like, if I don't learn it over the TikToks that he makes it, I will not learn it in person. But it would be so like I would meet people who want to be in that position, who need, I feel like it would be a very good networking event, and at least like maybe the things that he teaches, I would acquire better, or maybe see things that I wouldn't see like without like in person, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think you're right for the networking event for a few different reasons. I think like, cause first off, you do video, and every person that's going to come to this isn't necessarily a videographer. You're going to have some people that are coming to this that are just shooting stuff on their phones. So it is cool networking that you're like, hey, I can actually handle a video camera too. So it could honestly lead to some things where you're shooting stuff for social media people. Because I know that that's a need for social media managers, is that they need videographers for just the shortest things, but to have a guy that they can send you to do 100 clips of something. So for that, yeah. And then the mentorship too, because what's cool is that you're coming to the event as a student. So what's cool is like you get to kind of come in already with people assuming you want to learn more. So if you're looking for mentors, you're at least, it's like speed dating a little bit for mentors. Like if you're at speed dating, you must be single. So if you're at a thing where people are teaching stuff, then you must be teachable. So I would say it's a good thing now. Now, what's the price for that? Like what's the price that you would be willing to pay?
And I feel like 2 days, it's like it's a full day of work kind of and listening. I'm very curious. So I feel like there will be one-on-one. there's parties and whatever, and like he's managing the biggest accounts of like social media. So I'm like, he runs a really big agency, and I'm like, I feel like that's a steal, but I'm not sure, you know. And I'm like, I don't know how survival instinct and potential risk I should take right now, because like on the one side, this is a recession. You should not spend any money and just like, you know, recover whatever you can. But also, like, maybe this is the time and the jumping thing, and maybe you gain more money from it, you know?
Yeah, well, I think you bring up a good point of, like, what's the price on all these things, right? And you don't have any budget now, it sounds like. Like, if you're to talk about your business as a budget, like, you don't have any budget. You're barely keeping it afloat type of things, what it sounds like. So you don't have a cushion, you know? Yeah. You don't have this kind of marketing cushion. So... But this sounds like this could be very helpful, right? So it's like, because then I think the other side of that is like, how much money could you make from this event? Which, you know, any event really could be unlimited because you don't know who you're going to meet. Exactly. You could meet the biggest client you've ever had your whole life at this event.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I mean, what I would say, and you can probably donate for each day separately, or do you have to just donate once to?
Yeah, I think it's once, and I could make the money easy up because I got like the client, one client paid a good amount, and I should be fine, you know. But it's more like, should I pay now other things and save money, kind of sort of situation, you know. So it's not that desperate, but it's like in that range where I'm like, could that be wasted money? I don't know. It should be nice.
Well, I think I don't. Yeah, I mean, like it's funny because you're willing to spend thousands of dollars for like a camera body or a lens just out of, or you know, so it's funny how easy those decisions. It's almost like, you know, when Congress is gonna like put us to war, it takes like 3 days and we're in a war. But then like when it's something like student loan forgiveness, it's like this long drawn out. So it's kind of the same thing, right? Like you can go to war so quickly which your war is just getting a new camera, but like like $50, you're like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a lot of money, bro.
Yeah. And I mean, like in the end, like the connections with people is way more valuable, you know. But I never put like a price tag on that. Like,
but it's a gamble.
How much money would I pay to meet like potential 10 people, or let's say 5 people, and even one person could make a big difference.
Well, what's nice about you, I'm going to be complimentary of you for a second, is that you're very out there when you do go to these things. You do go up and you have no problem like putting yourself in conversations and saying funny, goofy things and getting people's attention. So you're great at that. Like someone like, you know, like me, where like I can go to these things and be too shy to really do too much. So it can be a gamble for me to go to a networking thing because I may just like not take advantage of it. So I think for someone like you, it's definitely worth it because I know you're going to talk to somebody. I know you're not going to just stand there, you know, silent with your hands in your pockets the entire time.
Getting kicked out. Drag him out.
You may get kicked out for being, but then everyone knows your name. He's that guy that got kicked out of the thing.
That weird German with the sausages.
You just have all these sausages you're just throwing at the speaker. But yeah, so, you know, I don't know why $50 is in my head. I don't know why. That just keeps, I would say $25 a day seems way worth it. That seems like a steal then. So I would say $50. Just do $50. And you know, if he was going to be, you know, offended by that, then he shouldn't have made it that low. Then it should have been $100 minimum.
I feel like I will text him and be talking about that and be like, hey, I offer 100. You know, I feel that is what I can do. And I sent him my GoFundMe so that he sees like, oh, good incentive, you know, because like there's a lot of drama with like medical bills and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, and
sorry
that's
for
fine.
the derail. Let's go over to invoicing. How did you do your invoicing? Segue.
Now we just had to shoehorn the segue. Oh no. Well, so how's Fitz going to pay for this event? Well, that will be through writing invoices. And right now, he, I guess, uses custom invoices. Tell me how this process goes. How do you make custom invoices?
So I think like we should first talk about the journey, how I started all that shenanigans. Like in the beginning, when you're a freelancer, you know, everything goes down in the DMs of like Instagram, Facebook, or whatever you use, you know. So obviously that is not the way because like it feels like too friendly, too fun, and you're just like, oh yeah, $75, $50, no problem. I shoot you. You got Venmo? You know, that's the workflow that you have in the beginning, what you shouldn't have. Where it's like if it goes over an email, what is one step more professional, and you just write it out. It still doesn't look like it, but if you have like a picture or a PDF, it's better. And that's how I evolved to. Like I evolved to like, oh, let's send a PDF out that is not modifiable, and shows what they get, how much it is, and how to pay it, and like little like, oh, if you pay this amount at that time, you get a discount, retainer fees, yada yada yada. Like little things like that on there.
Wow. So it actually sounds like a lot, in my opinion. I mean, so you give a discount when they pay by a certain time. So you have that.
So
that's
don't
in
have
it.
to run behind the money. I hate that. I just hate it.
Well, like I do like that, by the way. So that is a cool thing to have, where you push people to pay quicker, which is good. Some people also have the opposite, where they'll even say on the invoice, once you get behind, I'm going to charge you X amount of money or X amount of percentage every month that it's behind, which I've thought of doing in my contracts, just because I've had some that apparently they thought they could just not pay me for months and months. And so but anyway, it sounds like a lot. I mean, maybe, I don't know how you have it designed, but
you want to see?
Yeah, if you have one that you can show.
We'll show some client stuff, I think.
Yeah, so you don't have to if that's the case, unless you had like a blank, or like a one with placeholder stuff.
Placeholder stuff. Jesus Christ.
Oh, you have one with Jesus Christ. That's a good invoice.
This guy charged like a lot. I don't know, like it has the names on it. I feel like this is weird. Oh wait, this does not really have like a lot of names on it. I just do like the newest one because there's no really personal information on it.
Okay, we'll share it. Let's share it with the audience and myself. I want to see these. I've never seen one, so I'm getting it with everyone else.
Yeah,
the reveal of Fitz's Invoices.
Yeah, so let's see how this will look. This is not actually how I
pulling it
do
up, ladies
all
and
of them,
gentlemen,
because this one is just like heavily modified, and it was very loosey-goosey in the last minute, Oh, it's loading, and it's not doing stuff. Oh, it's not doing it?
The feed actually froze on my end just now, so hopefully... hopefully his comes back up live here.
Riverside, what happened?
Huh, so I have no idea if I'm like talking over him right now. Let's say your feed has died on my end, so we'll see. Well, it hasn't really died, but it froze. And now we've lost him. So we've had more technical difficulties, everyone. So for your bingo cards at home, we have now lost Fitz's feed. So hopefully you guys are playing the Infinite Creative bingo card of losing some of the technical difficulties here. But I think I'm going to jive right now. I don't think he's actually in here talking over me. So I think using custom invoices is one of the things it's really funny. As a designer, I always want to make custom invoices, obviously. Like I know ways I could design a better invoice, but invoices are just one of those things that you want to have in the background. You want to spend very little time doing anything that's administrative work at all. So invoices, contracts, even sending out capabilities on a project, all those things should be things that take as little time as possible. And so as you do these things, you should really create a template type of thing. So with that, and I just got a message that Fitz will be coming back in shortly. He had lost his internet, I guess. So, but anyway, so for everyone out there watching this video, is you really need to make the invoices as simple as possible, I would say. So Fitz had some things on there. You can have terms on an invoice. I think that's all good. Don't assume that they're going to read those terms by any means. I think things like rewarding people for paying quickly, that's a good idea. I think things like, penalizing people for paying late could create weird problems. But like, as I said earlier, is something that I've started to try to do more and more and more of, is just to instill the fact of like, don't waste my time either on this. Because all administrative work should take very little time. what's nice about using something that already exists too. So when you make custom invoices, you're kind of the filing system, and I'm terrible at being a filing system for stuff like this. So like what I tend to do with things like that is use tools. That's something I definitely had no problem giving to tools was my invoicing. So one of the tools that I use is Wave Apps. We've talked about it before on this program. So while Fitz is somewhere in podcast limbo, going through probably black hole after black hole trying to get back to us here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you all at home kind of Wave invoicing. So to get this app, you just go to waveapps.com. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I just want to shout them out. I think every creative out there needs to be using an invoice app. So other ones obviously are QuickBooks, HoneyBooks, things like that. I like Wave because it's very simple. It doesn't try to do a lot of things. They are starting to expand to do a lot of things, but with QuickBooks, things like that, it just was too much, and it kind of made me have to be in their world. So go to waveapps.com. We're going to try to remember to put that in the description, but go there, sign up for an account. They take a percentage out of every invoice for payment processing, but it's such an easy way to kind of make invoices. So I'll kind of show you here. So when you make an invoice, here you can save customers. Here's some of my customers. I'll quickly flash. You have these invoice numbers that it's automatically creating, or you can change. When you're creating you're creating a date that the invoice is made. You're creating a date that the payment is due. And then, so when you go into here too, what I like about this is you can save items in here. So if there's items that you're always doing, let's say I do MailChimp walkthroughs for free, so that's $0. It's a consultation. So I've already have that kind of pre-saved in here. So that's just another way that you're saving time, right? So if you're out there, you're a logo designer, and one of the things that you do is you need a deposit for the logo design, you could have that be a saved item in here very easily. So some of these are kind of saved. Some of these are old. So here you see positioning, visual brand design, and logo design. I'm hearing sound. I think he's back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm walking us through an invoice right now. So,
well, I missed out on everything, Sean.
Exactly. So you missed out on class, but for all the kids watching, you've been keeping along. So, but anyway, so what's really good about this app that I was kind of telling everyone is that that you can have kind of saved things in here that I've kind of pre-saved. So some of these are, some of them probably didn't need to be saved in here. I really need to clean this out. But so like I used to do these Wrestle Like a Girl. That used to be one of the clients of mine, but I would always do this discount when designing their stuff. So that was a discount that I had already pre-saved in here that takes money out of everything. So things like this just save a lot of time. You can also select taxes on things like that. And
that
it also
would have been my question, because that is a thing you create the taxes, or they have you're in Florida and it's predetermined for you and you can just select that by state, or how do you? So
there is tools that you can have that integrate into this that will do that. Like TaxJar is a big one. Where they'll do all that. Now that's an extra paid thing that you have to do. But in here you can create new taxes, which is pretty easy. I mean, because for me, it's I work in 2 states pretty much. I either work in Florida or Colorado. So they have 2 different tax laws. That's not too big of a deal for me to get over. Most things so most design, for example, is a service. Therefore, it's not taxed in the state of Colorado at all. Some states it may be taxed. But, so figure that out for your local area for sure. Not hard to find out. So, if you're a designer in Idaho, then you can easily Google Idaho, freelance tax laws and find these things out. But yeah, so what's nice is once you program these though, they're in here. So I have multiple, for example. Multiple is all the different taxes in Colorado if I sell a product. So So I've kind of already done that work, and honestly, that taxes may need to be updated, which I haven't in a while. But anyway, Yeah,
so I have a couple questions because I missed everything. You want to see how I did mine because my internet just shut off randomly?
Okay, so let me wrap this up. Let me wrap this up real quick because we're almost to the end of this, and then let's see yours. Let's work backwards from there. So so I just showed people, you can add a customer here that you've already predefined with all of their info. You can you have all of these things. I just went over this. You can add notes to any of these invoices here. So if there is other things, what's also cool too that kind of Fitz kind of was talking about was some of the things that he has on his invoice. You can have a terms of service that you already have predefined, and then all I have to do is flip a switch, and it pops into the invoice. So things that he would have usually, he could actually have be in the terms of service, and you can actually make it so they have to press an accept button when they do the invoice. You can also add things in the footer like thank you notes, other tax information. I'll put a lot of them now is where to send checks, because some people, they get that you're getting charged a fee and they would rather just send you a check to have no fee. So I put that in the invoice too.
How does it look?
So let's say, let me just charge us. So if I want to create a client, let's just do that. So we'll do the Infinite Creative Podcast. I'm going to charge us for my time, which God knows I need to.
Getting a check for $30,000 in there.
So obviously I could put in our email, our phone, or all that, I'm just going to put you as the contact. And then, so for billing, you can choose currency, things like that, so I could find the German thing since you're my contact, and then have a billing. So you can have shipping be different, all of those things. So all this is pretty, standard stuff. So let's say, I create that as a customer. So now that's up here. And then what I can do is I can save and continue. So this doesn't send it. And then this kind of gives me a preview. So this is what the invoice actually will look like. So it gives me a nice preview of things. He just goes, but very simple. What's nice about it, that I like about it, is it's just dumb simple. It's not overly designed. It's just like, here's the money, here's the items. It's simple. Now, if we would have done the things like the terms and stuff, that would have lived down here. I could have put footer stuff down here so there was more text. But so let's say, so you have to approve the draft. We approve it. And then what you can do is you can send it via email in here. I can also add automatic reminders, which I used to do. I need to reprogram, but you can have it so it sends out reminders automatically for you. So that's a nice thing too. So if it's 2 weeks after the invoice should have gotten paid, it automatically sends them a reminder from this app. So yet again, one less thing that you need to think about.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But you can get a share link. So let me get the share link real quick. So you can get an automatic share link for each invoice. So I'll just go ahead.
You see
pop
also
that over
when they
here.
read it? Oh, when they open it?
You actually can. It will show it. Yeah. So this is what it would look like, where you get all of these options. You bank payments. All these things are all built in.
Is there also credit card payments, so you can basically do monthly payments?
Now you can do billing with people. They're getting better at that. I think you can do it where they have a reoccurring invoice is what you would create. But
That's
yeah,
what
so
I like about Honey. But yeah.
Yeah, so let's export it as a PDF. I always do this. So I do that. I download it and mark it as sent, and then it'll change the status to sent. Now, if they open it, I think you can have it. So if you do the link, it'll actually show you status is opened. So let's open this up, and then let me change this to the PDF thing real quick, and then I'll let you show your awesome invoices. So this is kind of how my invoices kind of turn out. So just like you saw, but now here at the bottom, what's cool is they get a direct link in the invoice, and people love this. I can't tell you how many clients actually will comment and be like, oh my God, wait, do I just click this link? I'm like, yep, just click that link. And then it goes right over to the screen you had just seen where they can pay immediately. And what's nice is they can also save their bank information even. So what's cool is I've even had clients that are like, oh, Sean, I'm on the road, but I saved my credit card in the last invoice I paid. Can you go ahead and just pay it for me? And I actually can go in to Wave and pay it for them. So I can't really talk about it enough. It's essentially a free tool, and you just pay a percentage out of the invoices. Now, if you have a $10,000 invoice, that may be $200 that you pay. So that may be a good example of get them to write the check if you can. But these tools are out there, and they're essentially free. So if you're a creative that's making less than 10 grand a year, 12 grand a year, you should be using these because the percentages will never be that much, and it makes you look better and it gets things paid faster. But with that being said, let's look at Fitz's version.
Let's shut the internet down again. Apparently, yeah. So I don't even know if the whole thing is now recorded on that note. I don't want to be.
Oh, it should be. Scared. It should be. It's recorded on my side. So
yeah, by me it's just 7 minutes being recorded. Just saying. But yeah, so this is like what I have. Like for example, the wedding. Like it's wedding details, whatever. Usually name or whatever. Then this is the base thing. So this is like for coming out and doing the thing, and then they have like things that they can add on, and I like the yellow, and I have like 15% non-refundable, blah blah, and yeah, any questions, reach out. This is like a typical thing that I sent out. Last thing that I sent out was this, a little bit modified, event date, name of the thing, the baseline, a couple of add-ons, and now I'm like, let's put the payment methods down here. Obviously not as nice as Wave. But could I do something like that with Wave, like having more design aspects to it?
Now that is something. It's a good point. Not really. Now that would be a cool thing. I would love someone to create that. I mean, I would love to develop something like that, where it was like a tool where you could have more creativity with the invoices with all of the functionality. But not that until I know. If any of you out there that are watching this know, please comment below. Give us a shout out of like if there is a tool that you know of. But yeah, as you know, even you kind of made the sound when we opened up the invoices, like, ugh, on my end.
Yeah, I don't like the brown, to be honest. Like, when I saw your invoice, the brown is like, ugh. I don't know, like, brown is like, it's a good call for looking expensive and stuff like that, for like wood and yada, yada, yada. But
it's so funny you say brown. So it's not really a brown, so it's a charcoal. So maybe that's just through the camera, but it's technically, my brand colors have always been this kind of charcoal color, so not quite brown, but it's very interesting. Yellow is also a very interesting color. I mean, I know it's part of your brand color, so it's but we don't have to make
brand color, but yeah. So basically, what I really like about like invoices and stuff like that, I want to have an invoice and I have a what I'm gonna deliver. So at least like, let's say I don't do a contract, what I should not do, because like you want always a contract, but as long as you deliver the deliverables, that's kind of like a contract. You could argue, hey, I submitted a highlight reel. However, the highlight reel is arguable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. But you're not wrong.
Can you do that in Wave too? Like, do you have like the page for deliverables, or like a thing that you can send out, or what is it? Let's jump back to Wave and give me a quick scoop about it again, if that's doable.
Yeah, that is doable. So we'll go back to my ugly brown invoices here. Let's.
That's so bad, Sean. I thought also it's more gray stuff, because you had on your website a lot of gray and black. So that's my honest perception.
I'm gonna change all this once we get off camera. So one thing that we can do when we edit the invoices. So when you go into these things, what I do like about this is I've done this before, where like I'll actually do this all in like Word or something, but I'll like have lists and things.
So you can't write stuff in there, and that would be then like the deliverables technically. You could.
Yeah, and I'll just like and for me they'll be like very high level. So let's say this is like a deposit for a website, and I feel like I need to like list things. Is I'll just put like I'll actually do that and not just gobbledygook here. So like for me So let's just actually do something. Yeah. So we'll call this web design. So I have a like web design process. So let's just call it that. We're going to create web design as a new item. So what I would say here is like, so I would say like, deposit one of two,
$1 million.
Yeah. So one of two. And so then what I'll do here in parentheses is I'll even sometimes put, so let's say it's a $1,200 deposit for a $2,500 site. So I'll even do that here, just so everything's clear. I'll make sure to put 1,200 over here. That's pretty key. Don't forget that part. But yeah, so I'll do this, and then what I'll do is I'll do my lists like this. So like so it'd be like discovery and planning. Okay. So discovery and planning, and then I'll be like design, and then development. and launch. And then
on that note, though, I want to go a little bit off because like it's really hard jumping into those new tools. Like there's so many out there. I use HoneyBooks. I pay for it monthly, and they have the good thing where you're like they do all that too, but they send reminders and you can send contracts and you see if you sign the contracts. And I really like the part that they can sign it. And it's kind of like custom. But it's so hard to figure all those tools out. And I'm like, I don't even know if I start this thing up, how to set it up and how to have like, the first client going through it without issues. Because like that is like one of the things where I'm like worried. You send something out and now they have to pay for it and it looks like,
Yeah. Well, exactly. I think it's HoneyBooks. I've heard good things about. I can't really talk too much about. I've tried to dive in, and I think I had the same experience you did, where it was too much. It was just too much stuff. Where I was like, I already had my own process, and it was just too much to be like, oh, I need to do all of these things. So it was a lot. So sorry, it just says I'm still sharing. Okay. So, one thing that really bugged me about HoneyBooks was it was just too much. It got kind of in the weeds too quickly where I was wasting time, I felt like. Yeah. But yeah, I think having everything have a look and feel is important. I think HoneyBooks, it sounds like, will do more for you. The thing I like about Wave, and I don't know why I'm like this, sometimes I like separation. Sometimes I don't like to have a tool that does it all because then you're trapped by that tool. Then you're stuck in HoneyBooks because everything's in HoneyBooks. So I like the Wave apps because it just does that. It just does the invoices. It just does that really well, and I like that.
Is it free or how does it work? How much does it cost?
It's free. It takes a percentage out. I don't have that pulled up, so let me see here.
So here's how I would use it now, because I like the idea of free because free is great, and even if it's not like the design that I like, I still can separate the work process, have the deliverables and the billing separate. And I don't mind, doing like a custom, hey, this is what I'm delivering. I describe what the delivery is, and then send out a separate billing thing for whatever they selected. Obviously, it would be nice if everything would be together, but yeah.
Yeah, and it does a lot. So invoicing $0, accounting is $0. The banking, even you can bank with them now. That's $0. And so they'll do. So here's kind of what you actually do pay. So if they pay by credit cards, it's 2.9% plus 60 cents. If they're doing the American Express stuff, then it's even more, which is pretty normal. These are pretty normal. They're a little bit higher than some of your other stuff, like your Square, stuff like that. I think that's just a tiniest amount less. The bank payments are just 1%, which I do like that. It doesn't tack on more for the bank payments, so which it also does. It'll do bank transfers.
Bookkeeping support.
Excellent. So now what's interesting with this too, that I do like, that with our talk about subcontractors, is payroll, and that's something that if you are going to have lots of subcontractors, you do need to get better at is understanding payroll and payroll tax. Now, what's nice is you don't have an employee, but you don't have an employee though, so it's not as scary as it may seem. If you had employees, so when you have W-4 employees, it's a whole other ball game, which is why a lot of people are very scared to get employees, including myself, because once you kind of dive into getting employees, it's just more cost on top of more cost on top of more cost. Oh, you have
to display even posters and stuff. I got letters like, if you have more than one employee, you have to display certain posters and like work benefits, yada yada yada, and safety stuff, and you have to have a note on your door. And I'm like, well, I'm living at home, and I'm just like, I don't want to have somebody coming in like, oh, do you have your posters displayed? And I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and what's interesting is they do this kind of advice, which would be interesting for someone like you to even have someone that you pay $150. I know you don't have that much money, but that would do like support on your bookkeeping or like payroll coaching you and stuff like that. So that's a very interesting thing they also offer. But to get into this, this is $0. It's so all of these things are
invoicing. That's a good price. Free is really great in the beginning. Obviously, like I don't know if I like HoneyBooks now better because or not, but I still have to experiment with that, and I'm not worried about giving it a shot because obviously it's free. So I'm gonna experiment with that a little bit, I think.
Yeah. And, and so for all of you out there, you can create this kind of administrative backend for yourself for free from the very beginning. For your first day that you're like, I'm going to go freelance, you could do all this within hours. So, even LLCing, things like that, I think that's something we've talked about, and we can talk about in other stuff. I think that's kind of the next step too. But yet again, if you're not making that much money, if you're making like less than $6,000 this year, even I wouldn't worry too much about all these things.
You should not give those tax advices.
I wouldn't worry about it personally. But once you kind of get past that, then yeah, you should be willing to pay an accountant too. I mean, that's something too, is I pay a guy that handles all this. And even that's negligible cost. It's worth it. So custom invoices, do they look better? Hell yeah. Could I design something that's better than Wave Apps looking thing? Probably, yeah. But what I've also found too is accountants don't really appreciate good design. They actually hate it. They actually don't like the pretty stuff. You hand this to a bookkeeper, they would be like, I need your stuff to be where all the QuickBooks invoices is like the other contractors. Now I have to look at yours differently. I have to learn whatever design you did. So don't make them learn. Yeah. It's a boring profession. Don't try to make the bookkeeper. Now having a system that works together, yes. Having my black that's actually brown color matching other things within my ecosystem is very important. But like,
I'm so sorry.
I'm just joking. I'm just giving you. I care.
I'm a very honest person. When I see something, I react to stuff.
He doesn't like my invoices. No, I literally, I'm fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna spend an hour designing my invoices. No, but like I really, because for me the invoices, I don't really care. My invoices are kind of just pay it. Here's the numbers. Just pay it. We've already now. One thing I can show you, like at some point, like that. I think we're getting enough long in this episode. I don't have to show some stuff, but there's other things in my ecosystem that so for everyone out there, don't think Sean has a bunch of boring documents he sends his clients. So I have a capabilities document that I send. Now that's designed out. That looks very nice. That shows things in a nice, here's the flow of things. Here's the terminology, and it's very beautifully designed. So I do that stuff. And even my contracts are really a kind of a beautifully designed, simple thing too. So
would you be open to share your contract with me, and I send you mine, and you roast me, and we just share documents, and we see what we both do? Just to
yeah, we could do that off camera. I'd have to find one, or I'd have to just draft up a templated one.
Because I'm it's easy to say I did that and it's great, and obviously we all have our perception, but it's always interesting, what do other people see? Because you did actually a good call out on that hot sauce guy that I worked with, and what was it, the FDA thing with the tax. What was that again? It was
it's too small. It has to be readable. So if it's not,
people who do their own stuff, they're like, oh no, this is great. It's always really, really good to see somebody else's opinion and get feedback, so you can evolve faster. So in the perfect world, I'm like, okay, roast me all the time, so I see what I can do better and improve.
Yeah. Well, and the same goes for me. I think sometimes I get caught thinking I know it all too. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see your contract, and have me be like, okay, yeah, that's fair. So yeah, maybe you have better contracts than I do. And I think some things in your invoices
I didn't write them, somebody else did. So I'm like,
well, yeah, so it could be good. Yeah, mine, for my contract too, I'll say for everyone out there, I just used a template outline online. I think I maybe paid for it too. I can't remember. It was a one-time thing. But I still use that to this day, and just essentially kind of maybe have things I plop in and out, but even those are templated type of things. Yeah. But yeah, so it's all about spending as little time as possible. It's kind of the thing I was saying at the beginning of this, when you were kind of in the limbo of the world, when your feed cut out. But it's just that your administrative stuff should take such little time. I mean, that's the thing, is if you're spending an hour making an invoice, that's too long. If you're spending a half a day making a contract, it's too long. You should have all of this stuff be templatized to the fact that it for me to do an invoice now, it takes literally 10 minutes tops. If I have to go through it, a contract takes an hour tops to get written out and sent to them.
On that I feel like if it's a big project, a big project, then I would take the time to make sure. But if it's you know?
It's true. Now, you know what I do spend a lot of time on that I am trying to get quicker at is the estimate part, because there's, as we've talked about in this, it's clearly important to do your thinking through it. So that there is one thing that sometimes for me, well, even has taken a couple days, which it shouldn't, but it's only because I have to pause and think through stuff of like, okay, well, will I need a contractor? Also feasibility stuff, where if you're trying to be cutting edge, you know, I sometimes even before I'll send the estimate, I'll open up an environment on my hosting, and I'll just play with stuff. Be like, will this even work? The thing I'm telling them will work? Like, don't even do it in the estimate.
On that note, that estimate is like usually the first thing that people will give. You know, it's like, oh, can you do this video, or can you do this website? Can you do whatever? And the first thing you said, like, yeah, 500 or 1,000 or whatever, you know, that's the first thing they say. And then you're stuck in that ballpark. So, and doing that estimate right takes time, because like you said, like you have to estimate whatever they want. And in the beginning, you don't really know what they want and how much they want. So it's really a good thing to watch out for, and take some more time to, make it right.
And don't let them stress you. When I started out, I always felt the stress that I needed to give them a dollar amount on the spot. And
like ASAP, that's like,
and you know, and sometimes to this day, what I'll do if I have to like kind of fudge around that, and they're like, no, you have to let me know like right now kind of thing, or why are you being weird? Let me kind of, I'll just say, I'll give them like an area. I'll be like, it's going to be less than $5,000, or it'll be somewhere between it'll be less than three. Yeah, it'll be between $3 and $1 million. You know, so it's like, so you know, I'll do that, but you know, a lot of the time I just tell them like, let me get back to you. Let me craft out an estimate and send it to you. I'll get it to you within 24 hours. I'll sometimes like make sure to promise that if it seems like they're like TikTok, let's get going. I'll be like, yeah, I'll get you one by this time tomorrow. You'll have an estimate, and from there, here's the next steps. And so, because the estimate, you know, it locks you in. You're right. Even within the contract, though, I'll make sure to have a clause that's talking about change orders, where if we find that the scope changes, then that we need to then make a change order. And now his camera has gone out, ladies and gentlemen. So for your bingo cards out there, you may have just got bingo, because we're hitting them all.
Sean, it's a whole 9 yards. You know how it is.
So everyone out there, you know, you really should, you know, try to hire Fitz. His video gear is failing as we speak. He really needs all your help to keep these video feeds going. You know, the electricity.
The batteries don't charge themselves.
He's running his whole house on car batteries, I hear, and it's a mess right now. Oh, there he is. He's back. Cool.
It's really cool though.
It's not really cool, but we're gonna act like it's cool. We're like here on like episode 21, 22, but anyway. And one thing, but yeah. So to kind of wrap up this whole funny podcast is, you know, I think subcontractors are a good thing that if you're out there, I would already start to consider it. Even if you just started yesterday as a designer or a videographer or something, already start to consider that you're going to need more people to help you. And also just consider you can be more successful as a subcontractor than a contractor if you just do it right. Just be the tool and just fit into those roles. And then with that, you know, to just kind of wrap up, you know, invoicing, things like that are very important. And what I would do if I were you is make sure to use these tools that are doing a lot of the work for you. You shouldn't be spending any time on invoicing. You shouldn't be spending any time on any of these administrative stuff. You do the creative stuff well, so spend 5% of the time doing the rest of the stuff.
Sean,
and the money will come
today. Yeah, Sean, we learned a lot today about invoicing and like how to work with clients, and how to make sure that your internet stays afloat, and how to charge your batteries, all the good stuff. On that note, I feel like we should give a shout out to our Spotify and rate this podcast 5 stars, because like on the audio version, you will not see my face.
Yeah, well, no, and I think,
just
for all
like
you out there,
YouTube.
Like and subscribe to this podcast. Leave some comments. We've gotten some just blah comments. So leave us something. You know, if you have any tools out there that you use for invoicing and things like that, or if you have anything you would like to share about subcontractors, please share below. We're going to keep going as long as you guys keep sticking with us. We're going to get those coffee cups done. We're going to get this production up, and Fitz is going to have a feed without the camera dying at least once. I promise it. It's going to happen.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Sean, for making it today.
Yeah, thank you, Fitz. Thank you, everyone. And